Hello, hello. Alrighty, we are back here at Racing Statistics for FP2 of round 18 for the Singapore Grand Prix. We've just got a few more minutes now, 12 minutes to go until we get underway for FP2. After a relatively low drama FP1 earlier, we're looking to see some faster lap times coming in as the lights come on and the temperatures go down here in Singapore. We'll just have a quick review whilst we're waiting for the start of what happened in FP1 earlier. Obviously, we had Fernando Alonso topping the timesheets, followed by Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. 3 different manufacturers at the top 3. That is a good sign in my books for a competition this weekend. The 2 McLarens, 5th and 6th, with Lewis Hamilton just in front of them, had a bit of an underwhelming session, I'd say, with them 3 and 5 tenths off the pace respectively. But they'll be looking to up their game as they go into FP2 and further through the weekend. Isaac Hadjar again having another solid session up in P7 in the Racing Bulls, quickly followed by Carlos Sainz, who did not do a soft tyre run, I believe, and did that run on a medium tyre. Very solid there from him. Tsunoda and Ocon round out the top 10. And then we see George Russell in the Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli 14th in the other Mercedes. They also had a bit of an underwhelming start to the weekend. Liam Lawson and Lance Stroll were 15th and 18th respectively. And the 2 Alpines, 13th and 19th, with Lawson and with Behrman 16th. And then Albon rounded out the field after a brake failure for his rear brakes after they exploded. So definitely a poor start to the weekend for him. He'll be looking to get some good running in. But lots of good storylines going into this session. Should be a good one. Brilliant to see the cars under the lights again. So looking forward to it. And we can confirm now that there is no weather in Singapore in terms of rain at the moment. It does look all dry for this session. Overnight continues into the morning and into the afternoon as well. But the weather seems to have gone away, which for some will be disappointing, but it does at least give us some good clean running. If it does rain, it's more unexpected, I guess. So we get a little bit more drama either way. So that'll be good for our racing on Sunday, hopefully. I think the main storylines going into this second session of Singapore, round 18 of the championship, we're probably looking to see if McLaren and Mercedes can show a bit more performance this evening after a relatively underwhelming start to the weekend. And we've got to see if Fernando Alonso, especially in the Aston Martin, is able to maintain that sort of top 3 position. after a very surprising, I'd say, result in FP1 after topping it. We've seen quite a lot of mistakes in terms of lockups in FP1 as well, especially down what is a very tricky turn 14 and 15 area. So we'll see if the drivers are still struggling there as they start to push a little bit harder. All right, we're just a few minutes away now from getting going here in Singapore. And we're hearing that the Albon issue was fixed. So that is good for all the Williams and Albon fans out there. No need to panic. But yeah, we'll get going soon. Looking forward to this session. Should be a good one. Just gonna have a look at chat for a moment. If you've got any questions, do feel free to ask. Whilst we wait for these last 6 minutes to go by, I'll be answering any questions you have in the chat. Whether it's about this race, any motorsport, whatever you want. Seeing some predictions coming in. Norris, Piastri, Verstappen. Ooh. That's an interesting one there. Max Oscar Leclerc. I think for my prediction for the race, I'd have to say, I'm on the Max train at the moment, I think. I mean, we'll see how their performance goes along the weekend. But I'm going to make it interesting. Let's go for Max, Lewis, Alonso. Max, Lewis, Alonso. That seems like a good prediction lineup. A little bit out there. We've got a couple Real Racing 3 fans in the chat. Mashan. He's coming in with the Lewis, Max, Alonso prediction. And Danish with a Hamilton, Verstappen, Andy McLaren. I can get on board with that. We'd love to see an Alonso podium again. If anyone else has any predictions for the race, feel free even to chuck them in. Max Alonso Leclerc says Snowball. That'd be quite a good lineup. Be a very interesting race if we have that on the podium. Hello, Andrew. Hello. Hope everyone's doing well. Having a good Friday wherever you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in to Racing Statistics today for FP2. Really appreciate having you here. Bobby says Max P1, Lando P2, Alonso P3. A lot of Alonso supporters for the podium here. Yes, Paula, I am British, indeed. Alright, we're about to get going for FP2, I think. The humidity has gone up, but the temperature has gone down. It is still very hot here in Singapore, up at 32 degrees. And with a humidity of 80%, all these fans are so dedicated for being out here, but they look like they're having a great time. Yep. Just about a minute and a half to go until we get rolling with the green light on. Ah, nice to hear, Paula. Red Bull floor upgrades. Yeah, the upgrades are certainly helping a lot, it seems. It might even help them get up to P2 in the Constructors' Championship. Who do you guys think in the chat is going to get P2 in the Constructors this year? That's a good question to ask. We are just seconds away from going green now. Here for FP2. Dark Meow says Mercedes will get P2. Oh, interesting prediction there. Snowboard agreeing there with Mercedes. But we are ready to go for FP2 now. So let's go. The green light about to come on at the end of the pit lane. And the track looks magnificent under the lights. Absolutely a spectacle to behold. Always looks amazing. Always looks amazing at night. And we are rolling here in FP2. And they're all in the garages. Right, whilst we have some time at the start of this lovely session, we're going to talk about a couple storylines going into this race weekend. I think one of the main ones is referencing Christian Horner, who's looking like a possibility of coming back into F1, which is very interesting. There are rumours circulating that he is possibly thinking about a 2027 return with his own managed team, which would be very exciting to potentially have a 12th team on the grid. Obviously, we've got Cadillac joining at the start of 2026 with Bottas and Perez as the two drivers, which is already a super exciting prospect. So to potentially have another team joining a year later, that's extraordinary and something we didn't think was really possible as of late. There are also other options for Horner, he said, possibly coming in to replace Briatore at Alpine in a few years, or possibly seeing if another team opens up a position, he would be willing to jump back in. But it's interesting to see where he'll go next or what venture he chooses. Cars are well and truly rolling out onto the track now, so we can focus on some action under the lights. Everyone's decided to come out now, it seems. It's going to be tricky to find a bit of space at the moment, so some of these lap times may not be representative. Going to take them with a pinch of salt. We'll be getting onto the first flying lap shortly. I believe it will be Hulkenberg, the first one to start a lap. Indeed, it will be Nico Hulkenberg. Thinking about other storylines potentially going into this weekend, we can look at some drivers who are maybe a little bit more under pressure than the other guys. I think one of those is Franco Colapinto for sure. Briatore has already said that he's choosing between two drivers for next year, which is Franco and also Paul Aron, rising F2 star. But he's definitely under a lot of pressure after the last few races. It seems like fundamentally he's quite quick, but he's making a few too many errors at the moment, which is unfortunate to see, but hopefully he can clean up that in the last few races of this season, and hopefully he can keep his seat for the end of the year. But at the same time, it'll be really exciting to see if Paul Aron has a chance, if he can do anything with that car, which has proven to be very tricky to drive. And we've seen that this weekend again. Earlier in FP1, we were seeing a lot of front scrubbing from the Alpine, really struggling to rotate mid-corner, which was struggling a lot and losing them a lot of time, as you physically just are slower if that happens. Piastri just doing a flying lap at the moment, going pretty quickly through the middle sector. cuts the beam with a 33.4. Solid lap time there from Piastri to start out the session. Don't worry, random things. I am perfectly alright, if you're asking. As Verstappen goes top of the times for now. As we see Bortoleto, big lock up into turn 7. As we now see Charles on a lap. As Antonelli does go to the top of the timesheets on a 32.8. Really good lap from the Mercedes man there early on. Another major thing, I think, going into this weekend in terms of our championship fight now is where obviously we've got 6 rounds left after this. Then it's going to be very, very hard unless Max wins this race and the McLarens have a little bit of a problem to really get into the title fight. But something I want to point out is last year, obviously, we had a kind of similar scenario with Lando Norris trying to chase down Max Verstappen for the title. It's role reversal this year, with the 2 McLarens being the ones who are being chased by Max. But it'll be a very interesting dynamic because last year, the gap between Norris and Verstappen with 7 races to go was, I believe, about 62, 63 points. And this year it is 75 points, I believe, between Max and Oscar. And Lando was definitely considered a title threat going to those last rounds. As we see Russell nearly hitting the wall through turn 11, that is. But we definitely thought Lando was a title threat last year. And quite frankly, if it's Max in the same position, basically as last year Lando was, you've got to consider him at least a threat for the title, no matter what happens, really. Like, he is probably one of the best drivers you could have in terms of chasing down a title. And he's in position to do it. If there's something to win, he will win it. Or he'll give it his all at least. So we've got a brilliant fight until the end of this year. Hamilton's just putting a good lap there, going up to P3, just a 10th off Antonelli. And Piastri going up well nicely as well, as Norris is even quicker behind. The McLarens maybe have found a little bit of the pace they were lacking earlier on today. One thing we haven't really seen here so far in Singapore is anyone trying to make use of the toe. Now, I bring this up because I think there's the potential for a team to try it, because we have so many DRS zones here now that it could be a little bit more powerful than it has been in previous years. That time from Norris is extraordinary as well. Half a second clear. We'll have to see how it shapes up by the end of the session, but that looks very, very strong. As Antonelli had a big lockup going through turn 14. But keeps it going out of the wall. No real problems there, just a flat spotted tyre. Russell still yet to set a time. We can see Antonelli's on board again. Antonelli did indeed go off momentarily down at turn 14. But recovered it nicely with a little 180 spin. As we see Max dancing across the bridge, the Anderson Bridge, as he dives down into the middle sector. This looks like a solid lap from Max. Should be enough for P2. And it is, indeed. Another driver that needs to sort of up the game, I'd say, going through this session is Lance Stroll. He was really struggling earlier today compared to his teammate Fernando, who obviously did a sensational job to top the times earlier in FP1. But yeah, got to find a little bit of pace moving forward in this session. Or as we see Ollie Behrman getting oh so close to the wall there, as he was on a push lap. As now we see Charles on the lap going for it again. Through the middle sector. Whoa, that was close to the wall in turn 14. Really getting up close to the wall as he cuts the beam and goes P5. Still 4.5 tenths off Norris. That time of Norris looking better and better. Sainz with a good lap there. Up to P2. Flying in the Williams. As Alonso is just about to come across the line now. And Alonso now goes P2. Brilliant lap there. Hamilton's gone fastest in the middle sector, but that's just been beaten by Lando Norris. Both of the McLarens out there pushing, as Piastri is going faster, as well as Hamilton. They've outmatched each other from the middle sector. Wait to see Norris's Sector 2 split time. As Piastri went to the top by half a second there. Hamilton through the final corner now. A tenth behind. Norris, though, 3/10 up to the middle sector. This could be an extraordinary lap here from Lando Norris again. I know it's only FP2, but these laps do sometimes tell a story. If a car's fundamentally quick, it should theoretically be quick in practice too. As Norris 7,000ths off, as he lost about 2.5, 3/10 in Sector 3. Maybe took a little bit too much out of the tyre. We do know here that if you overuse the tyre in the first two sectors, you can struggle a lot in Sector 3. So it's important to manage the tyre a little bit through that middle sector. Maybe Norris got that a little bit wrong. Lawson pushing on now over the Anderson Bridge as we got a yellow out. Who's that for? It's for Russell. Russell's at the wall. Oh, disaster for the Brit. That's down at turn 16. As he spins it back round, it looks like it's just the front wing that's damaged. We'll wait for a replay on that. But definitely, oh, there's a problem on the front left, it seems as well. I think that's got a puncture. It looks relatively superficial, the damage, but definitely a setback there for Russell. Russell's lost the front wing and the front left is punctured. We'll wait to see if there's any more damage. As Mercedes will get to work on that car and make sure everything else is all right. As Toto Wolff looks on at the monitors. And we are going red here in Singapore. We have gone red. Too much debris on the track. Oh, it looks like he's just gone straight on at the end of the straight. Yeah, he has. Oh, that's quite a heavy hit, actually. Into the front. He's lost it under braking. As he turned in, the rear just said, I can't do that. And into the wall goes Russell. It looks like did he hit the right-hand side? He might have hit the right-hand side a little bit harder, actually. It's quite hard to see from that angle. We'd have to really see an onboard. But the red flags fly in Singapore. Should be a relatively quick one. Just a little bit of debris out on track. So we should just be going in a few minutes' time, I'm guessing. The Mercedes checking that car over. But he should be able to get back out. Daniel, it was Russell who crashed down at turn 16 after losing it under braking as he turned into the corner. But our first red flag of the session. The red flag is due to debris on track in the final sector. We should be going pretty soon, I reckon. Shouldn't be too long to get this cleaned up. Russell should be able to get back out in time, I reckon, for some more running. It looks like relatively superficial damage, so I wouldn't worry too much if you're a Russell fan out there or a Mercedes fan. Should be all fine for him. Well, as we wait to get underway again, we can have a talk about this place. To be honest, let's have a talk about Singapore. Let's have a talk about Singapore and the races we've had here. It's been a relatively recent addition to the calendar. Back in, I believe it was 2008, we added it to the calendar. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. It might be 07, but I'm pretty sure it was 08. And we've had some great racing around here in the past. Obviously, with the iconic Singapore sling chicane, sadly being replaced by the turn 10, 11, 12. Obviously, it's much safer now, but it was iconic. We saw many drivers making mistakes there over the years. And then we had our iconic moments with Lewis Hamilton's pole back in 2018, for example, when he did, quote unquote, the impossible lap, as he beat the predicted lap records potential, which was unbelievable. Then we had 2017, the last time we had a wet race here, I believe. That was actually. When Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Räikkönen, and Max Verstappen came together. And then, yeah, obviously Carlos Sainz winning back in 2023 was brilliant for that season, considering it was the only race that Red Bull did not manage to complete in first place, which is a crazy statistic to itself. And then obviously we have the brilliant wildlife in Singapore with the famous lizards, as they say, face to face with Godzilla. What a line from Verstappen back in, I believe it was 2016. We haven't seen the lizard yet, but I'm sure we will by the end of the weekend. Hopefully not in the race, but in practice it's quite fun. What else has happened here? Not too much, but I forgot to mention Crashgate, didn't I? Yeah, that was obviously probably one of the most famous events of the Singapore Grand Prix. But there will be none of that this weekend, we hope. Strictly forbidden here in F1. Brandon's calling for the sling to be brought back. I think we would all love that. And Russell is now out of the car, you can confirm that, as we go back to green flag running here. And we see another replay of him. Whoa. That's a tricky incident there for him. And we can see, did it impact on the rear? It did not. It was just the front end. But it looks like potential front right suspension damage. The clock isn't stopped under these circumstances in free practice for F1. We only stop the clock in quali and the race, effectively. For all free practice session red flags, the clock will continue to roll because it's just a set time. And we will resume at 29 past the hour local time. The main reason I think we don't stop the clock in free practice is, for example, like it's not a problem too much here, but where we run quite late in the afternoon, generally for FP2, the sun starts to come down, so it's a little bit harder to like be running simply. Like obviously, we have the lights in Singapore; it's a night race, but in other places, like the European part of the season, it's not feasible for us to be running too late in the afternoon. So if we had a session with say 3 or 4 red flags, they would just have to cancel it at a point, which would probably take away from the racing more. So I think that's the main reason this rule is in place. But obviously for major sessions, we will stop the clock. Yeah, it would take too long for practice basically if they stopped for every red flag. Exactly. Well, we got Carlos Sainz on the screen at the moment. He did a fantastic job in Baku. Took advantage of other people's mistakes, chucked it on the front row, made it home in third. Sensational job. Basically doubled his points tally for the season. It was a really important race for Carlos after a pretty tricky first season with Williams. He's had some solid pace, but has just been quite unlucky in certain circumstances. But it's really nice to see him overcoming that at Baku and getting his first podium. Yeah, I think a lot of fans here would love to see Lewis on the podium after his um, long-lived dog passed away just a few days ago. It's a very sad story to hear, and yeah, I think a lot of people are thinking about that right now. Rest in peace for Roscoe, an iconic member of the paddock who won't be forgotten. As we are about to get going again now, so we'll have cars rolling out on track momentarily. One man who will be very um, down about this red flag is most likely Alex Albon. After his problems in FP1 with the brake issue, he'll be looking to get out as soon as possible, I reckon. Because Singapore is a very flow-based track. When you're driving it, you rely on your instincts a lot. Where a lot of the corners are 90-degree blind right or left-handers and relatively low speed, you really have to be pushing the traction, pushing that wall up close. And that takes a lot of real confidence in the mind. And the more running you can do, simply the more confidence you will have going into sessions like the quali and the race. So Albon, I would say, is the one on the back foot right now, along with the two Alpines, who have looked to struggle all throughout this weekend. Lance Stroll as well, I mentioned earlier. He's looked a little bit better in this session, but still got work to do for sure down in that Aston Martin camp to match his teammate Fernando Alonso. McLaren look to have found their usual pace back again this weekend in FP2 after they struggled a little bit in FP1. But yeah, it's status quo up front, it seems. One driver I'm interested to see what they can do to this weekend is Ollie Behrman. Obviously, first time here, needing to probably pick up a little bit of form, I'd say. And has got to be wary because of those 10 penalty points to his name. He seems to have fundamentally pretty good pace and has shown that more and more throughout the season, but has struggled points-wise compared to Esteban Ocon. I think it's fair to say. But let's watch a lap with Charles Leclerc here on the medium tyre, throwing into turn 1 in third gear and into turn 3. Important to get the rotation power on very, very early as you have to push the car out wider. Turn 5 is really, really quick. Got to be right up to the wall there on the exit. Now you fire down the straight. You'll be up at 250, 260, 300 kilometers an hour before you hit the brakes. He was up at 311 into that. Unbelievable speeds here. And now into the tight and twisty sector of sector 2. As he flies through turn 8, through turn 9, now flying into turn 10. The apex speed is ridiculous through here for such a tight corner. And then into 11 and 12, across the Anderson Bridge he goes, pushing it right up to the wall. We remember having Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa both having issues there back in 2012 as they nearly lost it. One of the best saves in motorsport was that. Hamilton's going in quicker behind Leclerc, as Leclerc is about matching Piastri's time. As through turn 15, turn 14 even, that was very close to the wall. They're all pushing indeed. No one is leaving much margin out there at all. It's very rare to see this so early in a weekend. Hamilton 3/10 up on Leclerc, behind. He's on a good lap. Leclerc to the line, goes P4, just behind his teammate. Where will Hamilton go? He made a bit of a mistake through that last chicane. A little bit of oversteer, similar to George almost, but not as extreme. Through the final corner, he will go to the top. Good lap there from Lewis. Sainz is now pushing as well behind. As Behrman goes P2. Behrman! Wow! I know he's on the soft tyre compared to Ocon to P1. The two Hasses have gone for it. That is what we call a glory run. They're on the soft tyre compared to the mediums of the two Ferraris. But that is a really good little lap there from Ocon, especially. And Behrman not far behind. As Hulkenberg slots up into P7 on the soft tyre as well. We are starting to see soft tyre runs here. Sainz goes P3 just ahead of Behrman with a purple sector 3. Oh! And he so nearly blocks Bortoletto there. Bortoletto was moving left as Sainz was moving left as well. As Lawson to the wall! Lawson's in the wall! Lawson's hit the wall at turn 17 on the exit, and that will shorten Fernando's lap. Lawson is out of the session. There's a fire underneath that car. That's a big impact for Lawson. On the right-hand side of that car, the RB mechanics look on, and he's parked it right in the pit lane. So I'm not sure how people are going to get into the pit lane because it's so tight here. They'll have to sort of cut the curb. As we see guys staying out on track because they can't pit. But the second red flag in this session, in almost exactly the same place as Russell. Lawson is out of the car, and pit lane entry is closed. Now, this is a very unusual circumstance. Oh, the McLaren's trying to pit. Oh, pit lane entry is now open. That message was a little bit late. Lawson looks back at his stricken car there. Big damage to that right-hand side. Both axles impacting the wall. It was almost like a ricochet movement. As the rear hit, then the front hit as well. They will have enough fuel, I think, to get back round again. Oh, it was a big hit. On a weekend where he really needs to have a good result, I'd say. That's not optimal for Lawson. small error leads to a big consequence around Singapore. It will bite if you make a mistake, and it has bitten. Yeah, it just gets on the dirty stuff a little bit, and that is a big hit into the wall. Shame there for Lawson. As he comes on the radio to say, I hit the wall, bro. Yes, he did. 129s for quali? Almost certainly, I think. Yeah. But the red flag will fly again in Singapore. And it is Lawson in the wall at the final few corners. But one thing that did do is that stopped Alonso going to the top. He was going purple through the first two sectors on a sensational lap, really. So we'll have to see how that develops. But for now, Ocon is top of the timesheets. Fair play to Haas. They got out there. Well, they did a good run. Lawson is okay. Lawson's out of the car and walking back to the pit lane now. Yeah, Lawson is okay for everyone in the chat. He is out of the car, moving, and reported that he was okay over the radio before. What can we have a look at during this red flag? We've got to find a new topic. You know what, let's give Haas some attention after that extraordinary little run they just had. They've had an interesting season this year, really. Both drivers have been relatively quick at times, but they've also had quite a few issues in terms of penalty points for Bannon, and things like this. I mean, they're sat, I believe it's ninth in the construction of 44 points. They're only 11 points behind Kick Sauber, and they are well clear of Alpine. I think so many teams the lower and middle pack of the field have been so close this year. It's been really hard to actually maintain a sort of top 6 position. I mean, Racing Bulls all the way down to Haas were covered by 28 points from 6th to 9th in the standings, which is the closest it's been in that pack for a while. So, yeah, we'll see how that develops for them. See if they can continue the good pace, because those were genuinely good laps on the soft tyre. The soft tyre hasn't looked amazing this weekend after what we saw in FP1. So, yeah, we'll see how big the gap is between the soft and the medium. Obviously, the two Ferraris and the two Hasses are the main two we can focus on in terms of teams that got two cars for the run-in. And we saw the gap there was about half a second, I believe. And Grash, yes, there was a red flag earlier in the session for Russell. So I did get 2 red flags. Haas dominance could bore fans. One day, maybe. One day. See if they conquer the 2026 regulations. That would be quite cool to see. A smaller team doing really well. But for now, we're just waiting to get back underway here in Singapore. It's lucky that it happened relatively close to the pit lane, so it shouldn't be too long. But yeah, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about Alex Albon. He's really not got much running in these opening 2 sessions. I'm not sure how many laps he's had. Let me just check the statistics quickly. But it's not as many as he wants, for sure. Let's have a look. How many laps has Albon had? And we just see a replay of Lawson again. Yeah, that is quite a big hit. Yeah, Albon hasn't done many laps. My thing's showing he's done 6, but that might be wrong. I'm pretty sure he's done more than that. Talking about Yuki going to WEC. That is definitely an interesting possibility. We've seen quite a lot of drivers going to WEC from retiring in F1. We saw Kevin Magnussen join the number 15 BMW crew, and also Antonio Giovinazzi driving the factory Ferraris, and Jensen Button in the Cadillacs. It would be interesting to see if a younger driver like Tsunoda would go and do something like that. It's definitely a growing sport in terms of endurance racing, so that would definitely be interesting to see. I would be down to see that. It does look like Hadja will probably be getting the step up to Red Bull for the next season. I think Tsunoda's starting to perform better though, so we'll have to see how he goes in these last few races. But definitely, both of them have a chance of being there. I would argue Hadjar is slightly more likely. Daniel Ricciardo return. Oh, we would all love to see that. We would all love to see that. We are still under yellow flag here in Singapore for round 18 of this Formula One 2025 championship. Probably get going with about 10 minutes to go, it looks like. So that should be good. See a track dominance map of Ocon and Behrman. Pretty even, to be honest. Behrman's just losing a lot through the middle sector, but gaining in the final in terms of the straight. And it looks like Russell will not be coming out again, as he's still out of the car. So that's a lot of running loss for George as well. So he'll be on the back foot going into Saturday. But I'm sure they'll recover. I don't think I've missed any storylines heading into this weekend, but if there's any I have missed, please do let me know in the chat. But we are ready to roll again here in Singapore with 14 minutes left on the clock. Aston Martin dilemma and driver replacement. Oh, that is an interesting one. I think if Aston Martin deliver a car in 2026 that really is properly good, or someone's crashing the pit lane, it's the McLaren. I think that's Oscar Piastri. No, it's Lando Norris. Norris has crashed in the pit lane. He's broken the front wing. Oh wow. The Ferrari mechanics are helping push him back. Has he done any further damage to that car? This is not what Lando Norris needed. How has he even done that? Oh wow. It's not a particularly tight pit lane here, so I'm quite surprised to see that. But has he done any damage to that front right suspension? He's definitely done damage to the wall in his front wing. You can see the scrape marks down there. But it's not. How has he done that? He's not crashed next to his pit box. We'll have to see a replay. I haven't had it roll yet. Here's the replay. Oh, he's come together with Leclerc. Leclerc and Norris have crashed in the pit lane. Oh, that could be a penalty on Ferrari's side there. That was Leclerc who was being released into Norris. Oh, that could spell big trouble. They will investigate that after the session, they say. And Charles looking at that, he knows that could be a penalty, I think. The mechanics just released him straight into the path of the McLaren. That's unfortunate for the Ferrari boys out there. But Lando Norris is back out. Car repaired. Should be alright. So, don't worry if you're a Lando Norris fan out there. He is going back out on track. As we see Isaac Hadjar now, we're looking for a lot of soft runs going at the end of the session. We've only got 10 minutes left, so we'll get a lot of quick runs going in now. Hadjar is flying to the first sector, just a little bit down on Ocon. Through turn 8 into turn 9. Car looks pretty good. Got a lot of front rotation in there. Already cranking the lock on. Across the Anderson Bridge now. Firing it into turn 13. A little bit of a lock up on the inside there. As we ride on board. Down to the braking zone at the end of sector 2. He is up on Ocon now. He's gained a bit of time. Always close to the turn 14 wall. The two Williams boys pushing behind as well. They're going quickly. Hulkenberg on a lap as well. Hadjar to the line, goes fastest. Hulkenberg now coming down to the end of sector 2. Oh, we've got another yellow out. We've got another yellow, but cleared quickly. And Hulkenberg looks to have backed off that. See him go again shortly. Alonso is flying. Gone purple in sector 1. Can he do that lap he wasn't able to do because of Lawson's red flag? Alonso half a second up through sector 2. This car looks genuinely quick in the hands of Alonso. As Albon goes up to P9 on the soft tyre. Alonso into the final chicane. Power on early. Gets up right close to that wall. Alonso to the line. He goes fastest. Our first man into the 130s. Here's Max now coming towards the line. He's just gone purple in the middle sector. Charles is out there pushing as well. Max now goes top by 20 thousandths of a second from Alonso. So close here. As Leclerc 2 tenths down through the middle sector. Oh! Massive snap there in turn 14. Would have lost a lot of time. As Leclerc goes up to P5, 6 tenths off the pace. But Verstappen and Alonso, the two cars, really quite quick at the moment. Stroll goes up to P3 as well, I missed that. Good lap there from Stroll, he needed that. As we now see a replay of Gabriel Bortoleto. Whoa! So close to the wall. And then, is this a mistake here? Yeah, he went straight on at turn 13 at the hairpin. But did a little flick around. Bortoleto has looked to struggle a little bit for some pace here so far this weekend in the first 2 sessions. But should be alright, I think. He's proven to be a very, very quick driver over the course of the season. Been probably the second best rookie, I'd say, on the grid. So excited to see what he can do. But right now we have Piastri pushing in the second McLaren. Oh, is the lead McLaren at the moment, sorry. Pushing it right up to the limit already, as he nearly hits the wall, going through turn 13. But that's typical to see. Norris has already backed off his lap. Oscar 3 thousandths away from Max in the middle sector. As he fires it into the final couple of corners. And then coming into this super fast left-hander. One downshift, throw it in, full throttle on. And he goes a tenth and a half quicker. Good lap there from Oscar Piastri, as Yuki Tsunoda now is coming to cut the beam. I noticed Red Bull have actually slightly changed their livery for this weekend with some deep blue wheel covers. Nice little addition there for them. As Tsunoda only P9. I wonder if that was a scrub set of tyres. But he's now got to get out of the way of the RB pushing. I'm not sure he did that. Bortoleto now is on a lap. This is on the second lap of his tyre, I believe. Science up to P4 with a really solid lap. There's a split lead to Aston Martins. And now Bortoleto into the final corner. We'll have a bit of dirty air from the car, but I think that's the McLaren. As he goes P15 just behind his teammate. Antonelli yet to put on a representative lap. So we haven't really had an indication of Mercedes' pace so far. Obviously after Russell hit the wall earlier on this session. and absolutely not going for a run yet. Oh, Hulkenberg hit the wall. Coming out of turn 17. Oh, wait, no, he just missed it. But very similar to what Lawson did. As we now wind up, we're going to do a full lap with Lewis here. Through the final corner. Power on, DRS wide open as we go into turn 1. Heavy braking. Throw it in. Use all the curb on the exit. Now into turn 3. Really good rotation through that. It's sliding a little bit on the exit. That's all right though. Into turn 5. This is so quick and so crucial to push it right up to the wall. He's done that nicely. And now DRS open again for the second time. Second of 4 times on this track. As he comes up now into turn 7. He struggled to curb here earlier. No such problem this time. Turn 8. That looks good. And now into the tight and twisty part of this track. 9. And then braking late into turn 10 and 11 and 12 he will be. As he carries so much speed through turn 10. It's unbelievable. And then across the Anderson Bridge he goes. That was very close to the wall. But it's looked good for Hamilton so far. Had a little bit of a problem getting the car into turn 13 there. But as he cuts the middle sector beam, he's 2 tenths down. That's not bad. Ocon's now pushing behind. Oh, Hamilton nearly into the wall as he went through turn 14. That was a massive moment, and he's backed off the lap. That was looking like a solid lap for Hamilton now. Ocon's pushing behind. He's doing a solid lap as well. No such issues for turn 14 for him. As he flies into turn 16 and 17. Power on early, right up to the wall. Fires it into 18 and 19. Can he improve? He does. P5. Good lap. Hadjar now on a lap as well. Currently P8. Can he improve into the top 6? Stroll pushing behind. Hadjar through the final corner. He now goes P2 with a purple final sector. What a lap from Isaac Hadjar. Another amazing job from the RB rookie. Stroll to P6 with the purple final sector. People are finding a lot of time here. Who have we got on a lap now? It seems like no one's pushing right now. But we might get a couple coming across the line for last minute times. As we read on board with Gabriel Bortoleto for a moment. Has he made a mistake? Oh, he was very close to the wall. I think he's complaining about impeding. It was an Alpine in front of him. Yeah, he was annoyed with that Alpine through the final corner. Need all the downforce you can get. And he did not have it. As we see Lewis is snap again. Oh, so near the end of the wall. And Hamilton was 0 centimeters too close to the wall, says AWS. Good to know. As Colapinto hit the wall. Oh, he's gone off in the final corner as well. As Ollie Behrman. Oh, he's done the same thing as Russell nearly. Wow. That was a brilliant little save from Ollie there. As Norris is on a lap, I believe. We'll wait to see what his sector times are like. Coming down as turn 14. And he has backed off. Looks like we're just going to get a practice start, so. Yeah, last car's coming across the line now, and that is us done for FP2. So, we will be back on air with Grash as our commentator tomorrow for FP3, as well as qualifying for the Singapore Grand Prix, round 18. We will be back on air at 5:30 p.m. local time tomorrow, as well as 9 p.m. local time tomorrow. So we would love to see you tune in for those. Hope you've enjoyed our streams today for FP1 and FP2. And we hope to see you again in 1 day's time. It's been a really good session today. So I've been Ollie. Goodbye.